Today you're joining me on a beautiful spring morning here in the garden. The air is alive with the sound of birdsong. Next door's cherry tree starting to be covered in blossom now. It really is an incredible sight to see. And then the whole garden is bathed in the most beautiful warm sunlight. Okay, the last one was a bit of a lie, but it's still a beautiful spring morning, and all this rain is really going to help set a lot of these exotic plants up for some amazing spring growth. Now, you might see my last video, I planted up a small garden border. The plants in there, other than the palms, are generally speaking very easy, low maintenance, hardy, tough, shade-loving exotic plants. Those plants are going to have to take some abuse, with it being next to the lawn. They're going to have all sorts of toys, balls, everything thrown at them. So they need to be tough, adaptable, and able to cope with that. But I know some of you really enjoy knowing about exciting exotic plants. And today I want to look at a few more really interesting choices for the shady areas of your garden. These plants don't grow too big, they're very hardy in the ground, but I think they're also incredibly exciting. So let's get started. I know there's a few of you who have a real love-hate relationship with my rare and unusual plant videos, because often my idea videos cost you a fair amount of money. So it's potentially a little bit of a good thing to hear that some of these are actually sold out. I bought the plants I'm going to show you shortly from Grow Wild Nursery. I'll put a link to their Instagram below. I think it's well worth giving them a follow, so hopefully when they become available later in the year, you can jump straight on them. These plants really are incredible. But first, let me tell you a little bit more about some of the shade-loving exotics I grow here in the garden. These are very easy, put them in the ground and leave them to it plants, but ones that I think can really add so much to your spring, summer and autumn garden especially. When it comes to tall plants of evergreen interest, you're pretty much spoiled for choice. Palms like the Trachycarpus, bamboos, Fatsia japonica spider's web, all beautiful evergreens. But today we want to focus on the low growing plants, because low growing ground covers really are the key to covering that soil and having an impressive looking garden. So a lot of you'll know heucheras, inexpensive little bold pops of colour, and they work really well with a tropical, exotic or jungle display. At the back there we've got black mondo grass, a very nice little grass type perennial. This really, to me, I know it's a bit of a Marmite plant, but I love the bold, dark, almost black colour into the leaves. In fact, it basically is black. I think if you're brave enough to plant them en masse, they really can be a striking contrast to greens and other bright colours in your garden. Here, I just had a couple of small clumps that are split up, and as you can see now, they're spreading nicely. Now, you might have heard me talk about Persicaria. I grow both Purple Fantasy and this Red Dragon here in the garden. And although the frost cut them back, as you can see, they're definitely eager to start growing away again. And they add some beautiful, really easy, low maintenance summer colour to the garden. And if they get too tall, you can chop them right back. And in fact, if I just show you over here, head over to this side of the garden, I've got them next to each other. So you've got the Red Dragon there, a bit purple, and then over here, you've got Purple Fantasy with those beautiful chevrons on the leaves. But there is another plant which dies down to the ground in winter, but then returns in spring to add some beautiful exotic colour to your garden. Yes, this is an Impatiens, a plant I haven't talked about a lot, but let me go into them in a little bit more detail. A perfect, easy, exotic ground cover choice then. Impatiens thrive in those shady, moist spots like here. This is Impatiens Ice Storm, and I love the sort of silvery grey sheen it's got to the leaves. Very beautiful, very easy, a very undemanding, leafy little ground cover. And as you can see, it not just survives in my garden, but it actually thrives. And here, it's actually spread outside under these ferns here, and it's doing really well. So I can either leave these to soften the edges, so to speak, or I can dig them up and spread them further around the garden. But what if there was a way to combine the toughness of this Impatiens with the bright, bold colour of some of those Persicaria? Well, that's where plant number one comes in. The first plant then is an Impatiens, and it's this one here, Hubei Red. And as you can see, at the minute it's only a little plant, so give it a chance. If I showed you it later in summer when it's fantastic, splendid and glowing scarlet red, then you think, I want that. This time I'm showing you a little bit early, so you've got a chance to go out and get it, hopefully. It's a beautiful red little Impatiens, and again, it's very hardy. According to the Grow Wild website, these can take -17. So whatever the actual number is, you get the impression in most UK gardens, you can plant this, and without really much of a mulch, it should come back after pretty much any winter weather. This gets to around 15 to 30 centimetres tall, so about a foot tall, and it really has the most amazing red colour to the leaves. I think this is a plant that plays well with so many other shade dwellers. Greens and reds work really well together in the garden. And if you've got a shady spot where you want something other than ferns, something to add a little bit more colour, plants like this really are fantastic. And for me, when it comes to filler plants, as I talked about in my recent video, they want to be tough, they want to be easy, and they want to be reliable. So that's exactly where this comes in. But that doesn't mean that they don't have to be exciting. So to me, unlike the Ice Storm and the Impatiens omeiana that you've seen around my garden in the past, this one has got a real glossy look to the leaves. So at the minute, it has just been kept inside for the past couple of weeks. It'll be moving now to a polytunnel where I can just get it growing a little bit quicker, and then I'll plant it out probably in the next month or so where it can take advantage of these moist soils from all the rain we've been having and really set off growing. But I think this really is a fantastic choice. I think it'll work well with the heucheras, with the persicarias, and for also smaller gardens where you want something more manageable that stays within 15 to 30 centimetres. And one thing they did just note on the website, if you're growing it in pots or containers, you're better off keeping it somewhere frost-free, like a polytunnel greenhouse. And that's not because it isn't hardy, it's just because plants in pots freeze through so much quicker, so somewhere sheltered definitely works better. But this is a lovely plant, and I get the impression it's going to spread very nicely, and it's one that I can split up and move around the garden as time goes on. So I'm looking forward to see this one grow. But let's look at another plant. If you've been subscribed to my channel for a while now, then you'll know that I am a fan of flowers, and I will be growing some new ones for this summer. But primarily, my top tip, if you're wanting an exotic jungle or tropical themed garden, is to focus on the foliage. And just looking behind me, we've got the Trachycarpus fortunei palms there. They look fantastic all year long. We've got the fancy Japonica spider's web. They look a bit rough at this time of year, but a little bit of tidying up. And as soon as that new growth comes through, again, they'll look fantastic. And over here, we've got Pritzelii imperialis, the crown imperials. Although you're mainly growing for the flowers, I have got the variegated form on the left there. So beautiful leaves, and to me, having unusual striking foliage, it really makes the garden exciting. Those are the plants that really give that interest through the air, and to me, raise it up from just having a tropical effect made up of very, very hardy, normal garden plants. So today I want to show you something a little bit special. Again, bear with me, because it doesn't look incredibly special right now. This plant is a Pilea. Now, again, it's from Grow Wild Nursery. At the end of my Simon Maybury's Jungle Garden Tour video, I keep referencing that video, but there's so many amazing plant ideas in it. He has a Pilea. I don't know if it's exactly the same one, but this Pilea, I've put a couple of pictures of it over the top of this video so you can see what I'm talking about. It's related to a nettle and it has the same resemblance, but thankfully doesn't sting, but it has the most incredible foliage. Simon described it in that video as having an almost crustacean look to them, and I know exactly what he means. The leaves are very, very interestingly shaped. They almost look like the back of some small creature, but they've got a pearlescent, real glossy sort of sheen to them. A very beautiful leaf, and to me, this is another plant which prefers those shady, damp spots in the garden, and it's a plant you can just leave and it'll do its thing. Capable of taking between -12 and -15 apparently. So again, it's a plant that can take the majority of winters here in the majority of UK gardens, but a very beautiful one come summertime. So I'm excited to see how this one develops really. I think as things move forward and my time to actually maintain the garden is dramatically reduced, thanks to a child, 2 dogs, and well, this YouTube channel, which I do enjoy doing, I think really having those foliage plants which simply do the thing and get bigger and better every single year, those plants really are key. So whether you've got a small garden but don't want a high maintenance garden that needs a lot of winter care, or whether you've got a larger garden and really want some interesting plants that will come up every single year and really thrive in those tricky spots, I think this Pilea might just be a choice. And subscribe to my channel, check out my videos as we go through summer, and I'll show you just how it evolves. But anyway, on to number 3. A slightly smaller plant than this one, which grows to around 60 centimetres. This next plant only gets to about 10 centimetres, but I think it's a beautiful little ground cover that you might not be growing just yet. Now, you know me, I'm a fan of the big leaves, and here in my garden, or any garden in the country, it doesn't get much bigger than these Gunra here, which are rapidly expanding now. But I think whatever style of garden that you grow, you'll find that free space and planting opportunities become increasingly precious and coveted as time goes by. those small shrubs and bamboos you planted suddenly become very large, and free areas of soil to plant are definitely hard to find. So as time goes on, you learn to appreciate the smaller plants, the ground covers, and those little spaces where you can plant something interesting, beautiful, and very unusual. And today's third plant absolutely ticks all those boxes. This very diminutive little plant is actually an evergreen, unlike the first that I showed you. It only gets to around 10 centimeters tall, and it spreads nicely. Again, I'll put a picture over the top to show you a little bit more. And this plant is a Rubus pectinellus var trilobus, which is actually a Krieg Farm collection. Now, unlike the first two plants, which came from China, this one was actually discovered in Taiwan, and it really is a beautiful little ground cover for our gardens. The actual collection name of this plant then, which denotes exactly where it was sourced from and when, is BSWJ1669B. But you don't need to remember that, as I have purely for the purpose of this video. Simply go for the video description, copy the name of it there, search for it in Google, and hopefully you're able to track one down. But all you need to know is, if you've got a shady spot, if you've got a small border, and you've got something interesting to fill in those gaps, maybe something to grow around the base of larger shade-loving exotics, I think this little Rubus really can add that little something you're looking for. Beautiful leaves with a very nice dark pattern on them as they grow up. I think this is really a striking ground cover choice. And although I said I was going to have quite basic, easy, tough exotics in that board that I planted up in my last video, I think this one might just find a home there. Let me know what you think. A lovely little plant, which again might not look anything now, but hopefully this little plant will really grow and develop into a special specimen that I'm excited to see in my garden. So there we go then, 3 unusual exotic filler plant ideas, perfect for those shady parts of your garden where you want some interesting looking foliage and haven't quite decided yet on what you're going to grow there. Perfect for underplanting and great for planting in small beds around other taller exotics. So I hope you enjoyed the quick video. Feel free to join me next time for another episode of what is becoming Plant Buyers Anonymous. I'll see you there. Thanks for watching, see you later.